Welcome to Mission Evolution Radio Show with Gwilda Wiyaka, bringing together today's leading experts to uncover ever-deepening spiritual truths and the latest scientific developments in support of the evolution of humankind. For more information on Mission Evolution Radio with Gwilda Wiyaka, visit www.missionevolution.org. And now, here's the host of Mission Evolution, Miss Gwilda Wiyaka.
Did you know many physical ailments may begin in your mouth? Mission Evolution radio show is coming to you around the world on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, xzbn.net. With us this hour to explore the hidden role dentistry may play in physical illness and healing is Dr. FELIX LIAO. Dr. Liao is a thought leader in natural wellness and the mind-mouth-body connection. He's the founder and director of the Whole Health Dental Center in Falls Church, Virginia, and has served as president of the International Academy of Biological Dentistry and Medicine. A practicing dentist for more than 30 years, Dr. Liao gained acclamation for having identified impaired mouth syndrome as an overlooked source of many medical and dental issues, and developing an effective intervention framework. He's the author of 6 books, his latest, Licensed to Thrive. His website, holisticmouthsolutions.com. Dr. Liao, thank you so much for joining us on Mission Evolution.
Delighted. Thank you very much for your wonderful work.
Oh, thank you, and the same to you. So what prompted your expansion beyond just general dentistry?
Well, I was always interested in teeth grinding. When I got to dental school as an engineer, I found that teeth grinding was so prevalent, number one. And two, the answer is so, I don't know, kindergarten-like. A night guard for teeth grinding, it did not begin to make sense. I mean, why would the body destroy the hardest tissue it has in the first place? And so that began a year-long, lifelong quest inside and outside dentistry for solutions. And long story short, after 35 years on the long and winding path, the answer was in the airway. And the airway is determined, surprisingly, by the jaws. So that's how I became who I am today, an airway mouth doctor.
When you said airway, I was not thinking in the mouth. I was thinking more radio. So
Yes. In healthcare, airway means, resuscitation channel.
why do we grind our teeth?
Yes. That was the same question that got me down this path. And so the reason why you grind your teeth is because your body is trying to resuscitate itself with self-administered CPR. But the teeth are in the way, right? You do CPR by thrusting the jaw forward, the lower jaw forward, okay, but flipping the head upward and backwards, and you thrust the jaw forward. But the teeth are in the way. So, the body is in what we call code blue. You've seen that on TV shows like ER. But give me the damn oxygen. Drop everything else. It's code blue time.
Right.
So if the teeth are in the way, well, you got to get out of the way. We got to open up the airway. Okay. So teeth grinding is a built-in compensation mechanism by the body when the airway is closed down during sleep.
So if you have sleep apnea and you probably don't even know it, that's what's causing the teeth grinding?
Yes. In fact, many people with sleep apnea have teeth grinding as a early siren screaming from the body, but no one is trained to recognize that. Not the dentist, not the medical doctor, not the sleep doctors, not the patients, not the parents. Because actually in the world of dentistry, medicine, and healthcare, the earth just turned round from being flat. We just came out of dark ages with the realization of how important the airway is, thanks in part to COVID.
So what did COVID have to do with it?
Well, COVID raised awareness to everybody that airway is primal. You don't have airway, you don't have a life, period. Airway's got to work. If it doesn't work, you may not come out of ICU.
What is, when you have sleep apnea, I mean, I've been around people with sleep apnea when they're sleeping and they suddenly stop breathing and you're waiting, waiting, waiting. And then finally they catch up with themselves by making a hork snot, horrible noise and then a gasp. And then they go back into snoring. What's going on there?
Well, it's like having that proverbial hot dog stuck in your throat, needing a Heimlich maneuver. So when you fall into deeper sleep, your whole body relaxes and your tongue falls into your throat. And if the throat is too narrow, it gets plugged. And when it's plugged, guess what? You have a hot dog in your airway. That is the tongue.
Mm-hmm.
And so the body is trying to heave. All right. So it's taking deep breaths. It's trying to expel this, the hot dog or the tongue as in the out breath. So it heaves, it heaves, it heaves until it finally dislodges this thing. All right. And now it can gasp and breathe again. All right. And this is a life and death struggle. The body is undergoing adrenaline surge. So during that time, the patient, instead of resting and recharging the battery, is spending what little is left to total depletion.
Why? It sounds like a miserable way to sleep. And my question is, why do they even stay asleep during this if you got all that adrenaline going?
Well, most of them don't sleep that well, and that's why they're sleepy during the day.
Okay.
And you sleep because you don't have any choice. Your body has to stand down to repair to keep going the next day.
So it's not something to do with the throat so much as it is the tongue falling into the throat.
Yes, and the tongue falls into the throat because the jaws are too small to provide a home office where the tongue belongs in the mouth between the two jaws.
That sounds like a design error. Is that something that we're born with, or does it develop through our life?
It's a structural error, but not by design. It's by default. Eating the standard American diet, you will end up with a deficient jaw, with crowded teeth, TMJ problems, teeth grinding problems, and those are the precursors to eventual sleep apnea after, it's been missing on healthcare's radar for all the decades.
My goodness. So what about our diet is causing this?
Right. So processed food does not have the freshness factor. Foods that comes out of a box do not have the ingredients for growing jaw bones. So we have gone basically inorganic and mutant. We really are de-evolving as a species. All right. Our jaws, our wisdom teeth don't have room. Our crowded teeth get pulled out and spaces closed with extraction, retraction, orthodontics. And so now you don't have a 6-foot tiger in a 3-foot cage. You have a 2-foot cage now. Okay. All the stuffy nose and mouth breathing leads to narrow jaws. And that gets ignored by all the pediatricians, all the pediatrics, well, I shouldn't say all. I mean, there's a starting awareness, but historically it's been ignored. That's why we have suddenly, a whole epidemic of sleep apnea. Well, it get to come from somewhere, and that somewhere is that the 6-foot tiger, 3-foot cage is missing on the doctor's radar in the previous generation of medical and dental school training.
So the tiger being the tongue, I take it, and the cage being the mouth.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you you're talking about diet being deficient, ergo the jaw doesn't grow. Does this only affect as we're growing up, or does this continue?
Well, it's like trying to go through life driving a lemon for a car. All right, this impaired mouth structure, okay, it's like your lemon that is supplying your vital organs, your heart, your brain, your joints, your gut. When you're oxygen deprived, nothing works. Okay, so it gets worse through life, and teeth do fail in the presence of hypoxia or a low oxygen supply because of a choked airway. Okay, there are a lot of unnecessary root canals and failed implants because of poor oxygenation and poor sleep and teeth grinding. So it does get worse with time, with mileage under the belt.
So you're saying that the impaired mouth syndrome causes the apnea, which causes hypoxia or low oxygen, which then turns back around and compromises your teeth?
Yeah, that's one of the complications. One dental trouble after another. It's a strong CSI clue that you have choked airway from impaired mouth.
So it's not just sugar, huh?
It's not just your sugar, because I see a lot of cases where a patient maintained perfectly healthy teeth and they still have one dental trouble after another.
Okay, so the teeth are healthy, but the gums aren't, or?
The teeth are healthy, but so I want you to try do this right now. All of you listening, I want you to clench your fist until your knuckle goes white. I want you to count to 11. And then you release your fist. Okay. Can you feel the circulation going back to your fingertips? Okay.
Eventually it gets pink again, yes.
Yes. That's what happens when you clench your jaws and grind your teeth. You're cutting off circulation to your root canals.
Oh,
That's
okay.
how they die. Okay. That's why teeth crack. Okay. So, yes, this is a downstream consequence of impaired mouth structure. Teeth also pay the price. But all dentists are trained to do is fix the symptoms, like tooth carpenters and plumbers, but they never quite get to the root cause. That is undersized jaws, oversized tongue, and choked airway.
Wow. Well, it's time for us to take a station break. Dr. Liao and I will return very shortly, so don't go away. This is Mission Evolution, www.missionevolution.org. Is your mouth impaired?
The end has come, the night has come.
Is your mouth impaired? With us discussing an overlooked source of medical and dental issues is Dr. FELIX LIAO. Dr. Liao is the author of 6 books, his latest, Licensed to Thrive. Dr. Liao, how many types of impaired mouth syndromes are there?
Well, impaired mouth syndrome is a overarching term that captures all the symptoms that can stem from a structurally impaired mouth. We're not talking about misuse of the mouth, like owner behavior in stress eating or over boozing. Okay, we're talking about just um, um, a gimpy mouth. Okay, not in the way of polio looking appearance, but in the way that it does not perform. And so this will affect medical symptoms, mental symptoms, and dental symptoms alike. All right. So there's only one impaired mouth syndrome, but it affects every professional licensed care, medical, dental, mental, emotional.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
So does heredity play a role in it?
Only in the following sense that you eat the same foods and have the same lifestyle habits, but not genes. So one of the great things about this, I'm glad you asked that question. One of the great findings is that you're no longer stuck with that 3-foot cage. All right. We can actually regrow the jaw now based on the genetic blueprint that's already encoded in your double helix DNA. That means that we can bring out your God designed face to its full genetic potential, not just according to some plastic surgeon or orthodontist.
Now, normally when you go in to have your jaw adjusted for a serious overbite or whatever, they go in and literally break the jaw, extend it out, and slide it out. You're not
Yes.
talking about that, are you?
No. So this new science called epigenetics is all about how every one of us can influence our gene expression through two things. First, mouth behavior. That is what you eat and whether or not you have lip seal and nasal breathing. And the other one is mouth structure, which now we can use epigenetic oral appliance, basically an adult expander, to grow or regrow jaws. Okay. It's easier when you're a kid, but as long as you have sound natural teeth, you can do it as an adult regardless of age. That's the great news about this.
So how do you get epigenetics to play in here?
Yeah. So it turns out that God is very kind and nature is ingenious. You've heard of this term neuroplasticity, right?
Yes.
Even the brain can rewire itself. So it would make sense that the jaws and the facial skeleton can regrow itself if you did not have full growth when you were a teenager. So let's just say that you're 39 years old, okay, and during your teenage years you had stuffy nose, you had allergies, you had tonsils removed, you had crowded teeth, and you got them straightened, and now they have relapsed, and you have trouble sleeping. Your dentist give you a night guard, you get headaches, back pain, you get grumpy. All right. Let's say you have all of that. It's all the result of this thing that I call impaired mouth syndrome. Okay. You may start to get brain fog. You start to forget where you put your car keys and what you need, what you come into this room for. Now, all of that could be changed when you start to recognize that the mouth that supplies all the vital organs is structurally impaired, and we can now regrow that jaw using your sound natural teeth as the source of stem cells to regrow the jawbone.
So that's why you have to have some healthy teeth in there for this to
Yes,
work.
yes. So
So
all this time you've been to see the dentist and the hygienist. Let's put those good teeth to good use.
how do you get them to engage? I mean, what's the mechanism behind this?
How do you get what to engage? I'm sorry.
The good teeth.
Yeah.
Okay, we're accessing the epigenetics in that
Yeah.
by using those.
Yeah.
How? What's the mechanics behind doing that?
Okay. So teeth are anchored in the jaw bones with ligaments. So around the ligaments that surround the root in its socket are stem cells that we can activate by turning the gear on these expander appliances. But that's where the classical approach failed to become epigenetic. You cannot just use an appliance to grow the jaw. You have to combine oral behavior change with oral structure change. So if the appliance applies to oral structure, then what are the oral behavior changes needed? That would be, you have to be able to breathe through your nose. You got to have lip seal. If you have to breathe through your mouth with your lips apart, you will end up with a long, horsey, narrow face and crowded teeth. Bar none.
What causes that you can't breathe through your nose?
Food sensitivities, toxic ingredients in our environment, that new car smell, all the flame retardants in the baby's crib, in your sofa, in your car seats, all of those forever chemicals that are everywhere now, okay? It increases our body toxic burden. Never mind all the genetically modified foods and all the preservatives and all the fixatives and all the plasticizers. All right. So anything that's processed, not whole food, I consider them a potential irritant to the body. And the body reacts to irritants by becoming swollen and inflamed. And that's how you end up with stuffy nose or runny nose.
Right, and then you start breathing through your mouth.
Yes.
And if you're a child, you've been breathing through your mouth, then even if you've cleared it, haven't you kind of developed that habit? You have to retrain the way you breathe?
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. But we are fortunately programmed to breathe through our nose, so it's doable.
It's doable.
Yeah.
So what okay, the child is born. As they grow, the jaw isn't growing adequately because of malnutrition. And so they go in and they have teeth pulled and they have braces to get everything looking straight and lovely again. Now what are we dealing with?
Well, I have seen thousands and thousands of patients where the patient has got straight white teeth, but the owner is miserable. All right. And so cosmetic dentistry, while it's socially desirable, isn't necessarily health desirable. In other words, it's too short a goalpost for whole body health. All right, you want to go to a dinner party with party teeth, by all means, go for it. But it's like your high heels, right? There are side effects to that when it's not what I call physiological. That means it does not follow the logic. The teeth are not put where the body wants it. Okay, the logic that the body operates with is called physiology, and cosmetic dentistry put it where the doctor thinks it looks good and where the patient thinks it looks good. But it's like the high heel. It's not necessarily good for your physiology.
So if you're dealing with say your child they're growing, but their jaw isn't growing as fast as their teeth, and they've got a mouthful of teeth, like we were talking about, that starting to cross over each other and whatnot. So sans the pulling teeth and braces, is there something that you can do to correct this and so that the teeth aren't so crowded?
Absolutely. The main thing is, one, lip seal from absence of nasal obstruction. That means diet. You have to be a vigilante on what goes into your kid's mouth. That way, you have a anti-inflammatory diet. You can have a lip seal, and then the face can grow as God or nature intends it to grow.
Do you also need the apparatus to start to expand things that you're
Depends
talking
on
about?
how bad. Depends on how bad the crowding is. Okay,
Mhm.
it depends on how bad the crowding. We have a way to assess that. It's called 3D jaw diagnostics. We can figure out which one of the three dimensions of the jaws needs help to grow. Okay, and but the really important thing for a mom, which growing children, is to make sure that they have lip seal, that they eat whole food, healthy diet, drive through. I know it's convenient, and all the mothers are overtaxed and overworked, but there is no substitute for physiology. All right. Convenience is often anti physiology. And so I train dentists on how to become airway mouth doctors so that they can coach mothers on what to do. Mothers are way over taxed, way over stressed, and they need guidance. They're not getting it from any credible sources.
I know I go into the doctor and they never ask me what I'm eating.
No, no, and that matters more than anything else besides the absence of a lemon for your jaw and airway.
So, if you start this young, do most people's jaws are grow larger and accommodate more?
Yes, we are growing more and more kids with without needing braces. We're growing more and more kids who are doing well in school, who are getting facial radiance and
Well, it's
spontaneous
I'm
joy.
sorry, I have to interrupt you. It's time for a station break. We'll pick up on this on the other side.
Okay.
Dr. Liao and I will be right back to continue this discussion. Please stay right there. This is Mission Evolution, www.missionevolution.org.
One people, one nation, searching for the light. One people, one nation, coming from the stars. One people, one nation, to heal this earth of ours. I've been broken, shattered, cast to the wind. I am scattered upon the wind. I've been broken, shattered.
Has your get up and gone, got up and went? This is Mission Evolution, missionevolution.org, with us discussing how compromises to vitality can actually start in your mouth is Dr. Felix Liao. His website, holisticmouthsolutions.com. Dr. Liao, there's chronic fatigue, and it seems to be on the rise as well. How much of that has to do with what we're talking about?
Oh, it is one of the cardinal features of impaired mouth syndrome, fatigue, okay, and escalating fatigue. So we wear out our body and energy tank during the day. And how to recharge that to keep going the next day? Well, you sleep overnight, okay? And during sleep, although on the surface you look at somebody sleeping, on the surface looks very peaceful, but underneath, the cleaning crew and the maintenance crew is out in full force to get you ready for the next morning. Okay. So you have 9 to 5 routine, and on weekends are you're even busier than your weekdays. How does your body keep up? And the reason that the only way is to sleep soundly and deeply so that the maintenance crew can do their things. And so when your airway is blocked during sleep, You have to struggle to stay breathing because breathing is not optional. Um, you are not repleting your energy. You are not recharging your battery. You're fighting to stay alive. So a lot of people have um, morning tiredness when they wake up, and many of them live with that for decades. I have people who leave comments on my website and said, "What you mean? It's not normal to not really feel like I can get going until noontime?" No, you are supposed to wake up when the sun rises and be ready to go, because how did our ancestors get us here?
Yes. So, does impaired mouth, I know hormones are a huge important part of our functioning. Does impaired mouth syndrome affect the hormones?
You better believe it. So the hormones, like any system in the body, requires nutrition, and it requires um, circadian rhythm. It requires sleep to self-regulate, meaning that the body can run itself. Okay, so people who have fragmented sleep, they're going to have more PMS and erectile dysfunction. That's been proven in research.
Oh my goodness.
People who have seasonal, who have sleep and airway problems, they're going to have seasonal affective disorder. That means they're going to become more depressed in the wintertime when there's less sunshine, and they may even be more depressed all year round.
Is
And
that because of the pineal being affected with the hormonal imbalance?
with the sunlight,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. And easiest way to feel anxious, it will be as if somebody is just, a pair of invisible hands is choking you in the throat. You will feel anxious.
I would
Guaranteed.
think. I would
Yes.
think.
Yeah.
So, if I've had it happen myself, I mean, particularly when I had COVID,
Yep.
I started waking up in a panic attack.
Yeah. That's your body's way of warning you.
So, warning me that I'm not getting the air that I need.
Yes. And that's why it wakes you up, because if you keep sleeping, you'll be dead.
That's a cheery thought.
Well, anytime you can wake up in the morning, put your feet on the ground and start walking, it's a good day.
It's a good day when you're on
Yeah.
the right side of the grass.
Yeah.
So, outside of hormones, how does mood and emotional health connected to the impaired mouth syndrome?
Well, very simple. The two organs that requires the greatest amount of oxygen supply, or uninterrupted oxygen supply, I should say, will be your brain and your heart. All right. So if your heart cannot pump enough blood to your or enough oxygen to your brain, guess what? Your mood, your memory, and your motivation is going to suffer. Never mind the performance. Brain cells is the greatest consumer of oxygen.
So that starts to affect your mood and your ability to concentrate.
Yes, yes, yes. And you start compensating. You start compensating by eating high carb foods, consuming caffeinated drinks, and now you are starting to through oral behavior or misbehavior, throw your system out of balance, out of self-regulation.
And it seems like we're chasing this thing around and round and round. In other words, I mean, you look on the market, the amount of energy drinks, which makes me cringe to even think about them. The amount of energy drinks are, and people are consuming them like crazy. I swear to gosh, there's more types of energy drinks in a filling station than there are types of water.
You're very astute. I made exactly the same observation. I asked the gas station attendant, "What's your best seller?" He says, "The one next to the counter." Okay, there's a reason. And so it reflects the fatigue that you mentioned earlier that is felt by nearly 90% of the population. There are not that many good sleepers left physiologically, meaning that from the body standpoint, that good sleepers are getting enough rest and oxygen and repair overnight so that the next morning they're good to go again, like the day before. There are very few of those now.
It's really kind of frightening.
Isn't
And
it?
young children are, really into the energy drinks and everything.
Well, thank goodness for the work you're doing. We are de-evolving as a species, and this is the only way to stay evolving in the right direction.
Yeah, if our jaws don't work, it sounds like nothing's going to work.
You betcha. Perfect point.
So let's talk about as you go through life, stuff happens to teeth, and it's always been a dilemma because if you have to have a tooth pulled, then you have to decide how you're going to replace it or if you're going to replace it, and
Right.
then you're faced with all kinds of different metals as options,
Right.
or it's very difficult to get something like porcelain in as a implant, and they don't hold up real well. What's starting to happen once you're making all these compensations for losing teeth, say, for instance?
Right. So when you grind your teeth, you clench your jaws, you are going to whip out your teeth that are designed to last you a lifetime or 100 years. Okay. A lot of people grind so hard that by the time they're 50 years old, they only have 1/3 of their natural born teeth left in terms of the amount of enamel that they came with. Okay. So it gives the dentist a lot of business, and dentists are paid for doing things to your teeth. It's not sexy, it's not even financially rewarding to keep somebody in good shape. This is something very wrong with our healthcare system in the way we reward doctors. All right. So if you have an impaired mouth, you're going to grind your teeth, you're going to clench your jaw, you're going to wear out your jaw joints, you're going to break your teeth, you're going to need crowns, your crown's going to fail, you're going to need root canals going to fail, and you're going to need implants, and implants going to fail. Now what? All right. So we're caught in this cycle, both doctors who don't know and consumers who certainly don't have a chance to know if their doctors don't, of this tail that you described that we're chasing, right? So the only way you can stop an implant from failing is to control teeth grinding. As we said, teeth grinding is one frame in a movie. The movie is not called The Dental Bite. It's called Airway Obstruction During Sleep. All right. So there's a study that shows that if you grind your teeth, your implant will fail 3.3 times higher than if you're not a grinder. So I don't know about you. When I go to buy an $80,000 SUV or $8,000 SUV, it doesn't matter. I don't want 3.3 times the rate of getting a lemon. Do you?
I hear you. Yes.
Yeah. And implants involves, guess what? Pain, shots, drills, surgery, screws. Okay. You don't want to have to repeat that. So the best way to handle this is before you get any dental work done, ask your dentist, what color is my airway? All right. Is it fit to support what you and I want done? All right. Airway first. And if your mouth doesn't support your airway, then get that fixed before you do your teeth. Now, I understand. Go ahead.
How many dentists, though, if I ask that question, would even know what I'm talking about? Or why I'm asking?
Therein lies the dilemma. We're in the process of ramping up AMD training to turn general dentists, regular dentists into airway mouth doctors. Because literally, as my patient told me, where were you when I needed you 30 years ago? As my patients say, I wish my dentist had been an airway mouth doctor. We desperately need this knowledge and skill set to stop a lot of the medical, dental, and mental emotional problems, because teeth grinding is never just teeth. All right. It's complicated enough to go from failed natural teeth to failed implants. Okay. And everything in between. But it's also about all the disease care 1.0 in symptom management with drugs, surgeries, and everything else that the healthcare system throw at our presenting complaints to the doctors and hospitals. But you never quite get to the root cause of the problem. I mean, sleep apnea is at the bottom of a downhill slide, all right, where you have 1 foot in the coffin already. Nobody's asking the question, what is at the very start of that downhill slide? Well, here's the answer. It's impaired mouth syndrome. And that's why we need dentists to be trained to recognize impaired mouth.
Well, it's that time again for us to take another commercial break. Please stay with us as Dr. Liao and I continue to explore impaired mouth syndrome and the ramifications of having it. This is Mission Evolution, www.missionevolution.org.
One people, one nation, searching through the night. One people, one nation, searching for the light. One people, one nation, coming from the stars. One people, one nation, to heal this earth with all. Brilliant feathers of an unearthly hue glide by on the edge of his dream.
How can you tell if you have impaired mouth syndrome? This is Mission Evolution, missionevolution.org. We're continuing our discussion with Dr. Felix Liao. His website, holisticmouthsolutions.com. So, Dr. Liao, how can you tell if you have impaired mouth syndrome?
Yes. So if you wake up tired, if you wake up with a sore jaw or headache, I'm talking about medical front. Okay, we'll go by medical, dental, and mental emotional categories. So medically, if you feel daytime sleepiness, that's a big red flag. Okay, if you have chronic pain, that no matter who you see, it won't go away, it keeps coming back, chances are something's not addressed. And that something is often the impaired mouth that's not on any doctor's radar screen, at least not until very, very recently. Okay. So you got to remember this term, impaired mouth syndrome, I coined it only in 2017. In medicine and dentistry, it takes 30 years for anything to become mainstream.
Oh, my
Right.
goodness. Seriously, that long?
Yeah, it takes that long. Okay. Maybe with AI now it will be a little different, but the doctors still need to get trained, and AI is not going to change that or speed that up. So medically, very common is fatigue and fibromyalgia, right? So these are areas of pain that just won't get better no matter what you do.
Is the fibromyalgia because the muscles are becoming hypoxic?
Yes, excellent. You could be a very good doctor.
Oh, not at this point in my
Very
life.
good,
Thank
very
you.
good. Okay, you'd be surprised that statement alone makes you smarter than half the doctors out there.
Bless your heart.
Yeah. All right. So the other thing that's important is that the mental emotional side. You know, you never have just teeth grinding. You always have some depression, anxiety. You all as going along for the ride, because airway affects every part of the body. It's a global consequence. Okay. So brain fog, unexplained hostility, grumpiness. All right. I just don't feel like it. Okay. You procrastinate. You know you should do this, but you can't. Don't want to, or just can't find what it takes to get it going. Okay. So these are all indications that the energy reserve is down. And your body, by saying no to getting going, is simply saying, hey, look, you got 2 breaths left. I don't want you to waste it on anything else that's doesn't pertain to vital necessity. Okay. That's when the body is in the survival mode. Now, dentally, how do you know if you have impaired mouth syndrome? Well, if you have one dental trouble after another, if you have lingering sensitivity, you have a root canal done, you have persistent aches and pains, or the treatment process is horribly painful. Okay. If you have gum recession, if you have chipped teeth that are very sensitive for toothbrushing, you're sensitive to cold, you're sensitive to ice cream, you had to avoid certain part of your teeth. Okay. You have clicking, popping, locking jaw joints. You cannot open wide for your cleaning, your dental work. You're told that you have teeth grinding, you need to wear a night guard. If you wear a night guard, you have impaired mouth syndrome undiagnosed. Okay. That means that the dentist it's not his fault or her fault. He was not trained in seeing that teeth grinding is a forerunner of airway obstruction and a forerunner of eventual sleep apnea when your body runs out of ability to compensate.
So how can you tell if you're grinding your teeth? I mean, I don't have any of those symptoms, but does that necessarily mean that I'm not grinding my teeth?
Well, your dentist can tell. Dentists who are not trained in as airway mouth doctors can tell. Your hygienist can tell because you have what we call matching wear facets. You put
Okay.
your front teeth together edge to edge and go side to side. If they match up, you grind your teeth. All right. Sometimes you can't tell because you're asleep. That's true. So it's never just a simple thing like, okay, you got no tread, so your tire is worn. But you have matching wear facets. Yes, that's conclusive that you grind your teeth.
Okay. So on average, how many people do you think suffer from impaired mouth syndrome that may or may not know it?
Okay, so it depends on who you talk to, right?
Hmm.
People who are not trained in this, they're not qualified to answer. But doctors I have trained, they all say 95% of their patients have impaired mouth syndrome.
Oh my
That's
goodness.
how high this is. Okay. If you have had braces, you have impaired mouth syndrome. If you have crowded teeth, you have impaired mouth syndrome. Why? Why is the mouth impaired? Okay. It's because it did not grow to full jaw size and full genetic potential.
And you're saying we can still do that at any age.
That's right.
That's
Yes.
the good news.
And we can do this without pain, without shots, without drills, without surgery, without pills, without screws, without braces, okay? Without any of the things that you typically associate with going to the dentist with.
Now, the apparatus that you talk about that starts to create more space, do you have to wear that all the time, or is this a
No,
treatment that you have?
no, you only need to wear it from sunset to sunrise because during hours of darkness is when the growth hormones are released.
Okay. Hmm.
Yeah. So not during the business or school hours.
Okay. And how complex is this thing? Is it like having your head in Darth Vader's helmet, or is it pretty
No,
simple?
no, it's very simple. It's like wearing a basketball player's mouthpiece or a football player's mouthpiece or an expander when you were a kid or retainer after braces.
So, is surgery ever required to correct impaired mouth syndrome?
Only in outlier cases and only in cases where the patient is not willing to assume any responsibility and do any work.
Yeah, it does take participation, doesn't it?
Yes, yes, it
Well,
takes buy-in and compliance because the outcome in epigenetics is that it's 100% patient-driven.
mm. So you speak of bringing on children's best face. What do
Yes,
you mean by that?
yeah, great question. Um, so God or nature put 32 teeth in our heads. Every tooth is entitled to a certain amount of bone volume around it, just like a tree needs certain amount of earth around it. Okay, so that's why two trees cannot be right next to each other. So each tooth needs to have a certain amount of bone, and when all 32 teeth will have the amount of bone they need, you have your best face because your jaw would have grown to your full genetic potential. And when that happens, you will have high cheekbones, you will have broad smiles like Julia Roberts, and you will have a winner's face. And you will perform like LeBron James or any of the athletes that gets interviewed after winning a game.
And that would be probably in just about any area of your life, yes?
Yes, it's a performance not only on the athletic field, but also scholastically, um, in business ingenuity, job performance, relationships, personal life, sexual life, and satisfaction everywhere.
So a lot of people are getting work done, as they call it, trying to fix their face through plastic surgery. As an adult, will the same thing happen? Like you're talking about bringing a child's best face forward, can you do the same thing with an adult?
Another excellent question. Yes. I love my job because all my women patients come back looking more beautiful. All the children show up happier, and all the men came back more vigorous and with a grin on their face.
That's amazing. So you might just happen to make plastic surgery obsolete, right?
Well, no, they will always have patients who just say, "Do me," like I was a car, broken down on the roadside. You told me, right? They want the other people to do them. My work is for people who want to do themselves with under the guidance of a trained professional based on physiology, based on epigenetics.
So what's a holistic mouth?
A holistic mouth is one that supports whole body health through alignment, which is pain, um, breathing, which is fatigue, circulation, which is heart and brain health, digestion, which everybody understands as nutrition, and energy and sleep. So ABCDES, alignment, breathing, circulation, digestion, energy, and sleep are all supported by a mouth that is structurally able as opposed to structurally deficient. And so all of those symptoms will show up.
So if you're clear down on the bottom, how do you climb back out?
Yeah. Okay. So the first thing you do is you get your mouth diagnosed to see whether or not you have impaired mouth. And you have to do this through a dentist who is trained. And because we're just starting this, your dentist is not trained, you might want to introduce them to holisticmouthsolutions.com.
Good plan. Good
Yeah.
plan. So it's about the end of our time together, and I would be remiss if I didn't ask you, Dr. Liao, what's your mission?
My mission is to actually help de-evolve the humankind so that it would thrive and continue to evolve like we're meant to be. So get people healthier by evolving from disease care 1.0 to healthcare 2.0 is my mission.
Well, it's a beautiful mission and much needed. I thank you for doing it.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, we are out of time. Dr. Liao, thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing all of this with us.
It's a pleasure working with a host as evolved as you are, Gwilda.
Thank you. Our guest this hour has been Dr. Felix Liao, a best-selling author, thought leader in natural wellness and mind-mouth-body connection. To find out more about Dr. Liao where you can find his books and all he has to offer, visit his website, holisticmouthsolutions.com. This has been Mission Evolution with Gwilda Wiyaka. For more information or to enjoy our past archived episodes, visit missionevolution.org. But please, be sure to join me right here next time as this mission continues bringing information, resources, and support to our rapidly evolving world.